Interesting article that I came across today. I just wanted to share the article, read the article, and you could check the article out for yourself at the description section of this video. I think it's an interesting article. It's written by Fontaine Felicia Foxworth. Title of the article is Attempting to Understand the Cognitive Dissonance Exhibited by White Culture Vultures, Appropriating the Culture Without Any Understanding. In light of the recent DeRay McKesson interview of Katy Perry discussing her past appropriating atrocities, I've been thinking about the trend of cultural appropriation, particularly as it pertains to melanated people. Appropriation obviously is not a new phenomenon, as all cultures of individuals have been replicated and borrowed by people all over the world. For example, I enjoy watching hip-hop dance crews from Japan or Russia. They're dope. Or when I go out and I dance to Latin-infused Afro rhythms, I have a fabulous time. People are influenced by other people. It's as simple as that. It's part of human nature and it's bound to happen. What is problematic about the appropriation of black culture is when members of a dominant culture adopt elements from a culture of people who have been systematically oppressed by that dominant group. It's problematic when people like Katy Perry and the whole Kardashian family morbidly appropriate a culture that does not belong to them, or for profit and or notoriety that leads to financial and societal gain, and totally act unaware of said actions. This kind of cognitive dissonance is so troubling and a smack in the face to the people that live, breathe, and walk in the black skin that is gaining non-black people so much glory. Granted, in Perry's interview, she stated she had no idea about the power in black women's hair. In her amplified yet soft apologetic voice, she boo-hooed about her ignorance. I won't ever understand some of those things because of who I am. I will never understand, but I can educate myself, and that's what I'm trying to do all along the way. Well, you've been around for quite some time, Katy, and it's funny how you have just been put on to what you have been doing in every album you've put out. It was cringing to watch her attempt to dance to a Migos song during an awful performance just a few weeks ago. Then flash forward to watching her apologize for her whiteness right around the time she is promoting a new album. Has anybody ever asked Katy Perry, Iggy Azalea, or Justin Timberlake why they make the music they make, and if they think they would sell as much as they do if they didn't appropriate black culture? I had to ask myself, in all fairness, do white people in these positions really not understand the gravity of what they're doing? I think about Kylie Jenner and her ever-growing behind, bloated lips, textured hair pieces, and spray-on melanated skin, and I wonder if she has any idea that she is completely taken on the identity of a black woman. Is she really oblivious? It's not just in how they look, it's how they move. It's in the targeted demographic of the products they design. It's in the way they speak. Looking at Kylie 3 years ago, looking at her now is like looking at two entirely different people. Why does the media not attack her like they attacked Michael Jackson? How many mainstream memes, parodies, editorials can you find about MJ's transformation from a black man to a white woman? How many news headlines have you read that say Blacko Kylie on the front cover? There must be some conscious understanding that something is not natural here. It takes applied effort to change one's physical identity, and it must take an even more subconscious inner turmoil to bring that insecurity to life. Why isn't that insecurity beat and bruised under the scrutiny of the media? This discussion becomes very political only because of the white fragility that it wounds. Name one black person that you know who would keep quiet in the room if this topic were brought up. Now name one white person you know who would keep quiet in the room if this topic were brought up. My point exactly. The next time a white person touches my hair or compliments me on how well I articulate or carry myself, I'm going to ask why. Why do you feel the need to touch my hair? What do you like about it so much? Why are you so impressed by the way I speak? Where do you think I learned how to carry myself in this manner? I hope that the awkwardness in that answer or lack thereof helps to define what white fragility and privilege looks and feels like, so a discussion like this can even be had. White people want to appropriate the culture without any understanding or willingness to know how that is detrimental to the culture. Then they scream race card, like the boy who cried wolf when called out. I wrote an article about privilege versus opportunity some months back, and a white man tried to call me out and accused me of blaming him personally for my failures because he was white. He went on in the comment thread, sending me angry jabs left and right. I felt compelled to take a look at his Facebook profile, and I was low-key shocked about what I found. This white man was indeed a rapper. All of his pictures had his pants sagging low, with his snapback on backwards and his Jordans on fresh. It was a real, well, I'll be damned moment. This guy's arguing with me, essentially calling me a reverse racist, claiming he didn't see color or recognize privilege. Yet he's looking like a white fabulous from Wade County, Florida. His very own sense of self-identity is obviously skewed and misaligned with his actual outward beliefs. Everyone has a right to self-expression, true, but not at the expense of hijacking someone else's culture who happens to be systematically marginalized by the same construct that rewards you with privilege. That makes you a culture vulture. And in the words of Biggie, if you don't know, now you know. Alright, so I just thought that was an interesting article because I think it's very relevant to the martial arts and what I see that's going on. There was another article that I read like months ago about a white woman, a teenager, who wore a Chinese traditional dress to a prom because she thought it looked nice, and she put a picture of herself on social media wearing that dress, and then there was some backlash saying that accusing her of cultural appropriation, and then there's some people supporting her and some people that weren't, and basically she almost pretty much became famous just because she wore a Chinese dress to a prom, and she happened to be a white woman doing it. And you know, she said that she didn't mean any harm, that she just thought the dress looked nice. She wasn't trying to, you know, steal from another person, you know, another person's culture and whatnot. But you know, this is what I see that's going on with the martial arts, and there's nobody's standing up to say anything about it, because I think in general a lot of Chinese people and Asians in general are not properly protected, and they're not basically standing up and voicing the problems of what's going on, whereas blacks are more vocal about injustices, and they will, you know, they will respond immediately. You know, if there's a white person that's having braids, you know, there could be somebody that says something about it, you know. And even Jeremy Lin, the Chinese basketball player, had braids, and then there was a backlash from one of the athletes that said something about that, you know. And then he went ahead and said, well, I'm doing this because I appreciate your culture, and then look at you're wearing, you know, you're putting on Chinese character tattoos on your body, you know, so you're taking from our culture, you know. So I mean, there's these things going back and forth, but you know what I have to say about the martial arts and what's going on in general. Even an article that I read the other day, there's this white female yoga instructor that's famous on YouTube, and she even mentioned in her article that, you know, some people do accuse her of cultural appropriation, and she says that that's understandable, and then she stated what she wanted to state, but it goes back to me, like, specifying, like, you know, yoga is coming from the Indian culture, and what I don't understand is where are the yoga the Indian yoga masters out there that are teaching yoga. You know, it just doesn't make sense to me, you know, to see like non-Indian yoga teachers that are pretty much flooding the market when this art form belongs to the Indian culture and they should be basically leading the way in that expression. And the same goes with the martial arts, like the Chinese martial arts school, the Kung Fu school. It should be led by a Chinese person, because that's from his culture. A Japanese martial arts school, a karate martial arts school, a judo, a jiu-jitsu, these are Japanese expressions of the martial arts. So those should be led by Japanese people that are sharing that part of their culture. And then the same goes with the Taekwondo and the Korean martial arts, and the Hapkido. That's the Korean culture. So that school should be led by the Koreans, and they should be sharing that part of their culture. And that is essentially what I've been talking about, you know, in the past videos, you know, about the issues that I see that's going on. It's just, why are non-Chinese people, black or white or Hispanic or whatever, speaking on behalf of the Chinese martial arts, or speaking on behalf of the Kung Fu, or not just speaking on it, but actually teaching it? I mean, that is cultural appropriation. That's the, I guess, the professional term that they're using for it, is that that's not right. You know what I mean? Like, the people of that culture should be representing that culture, and people that are not of that culture should not be going into that culture and basically taking from it in which to profit from it or to gain notoriety, like what the article is saying. That is not right. You know, and somebody has to stand up and say something about it. And people just have to realize what's going on. I mean, it's not that people that are non-Asian should not be practicing the martial arts and should not be teaching the martial arts, but once again, as I stated in my other videos, they should be properly identifying themselves with the proper labels. You know, if you open up a martial arts school and just say, hey, you know, I teach martial arts and I've borrowed this from that style and borrowed this from this style and borrowed it from this way, but I've created my own way and I teach my own martial arts, then that's completely fine, no matter if you're white, black, or Hispanic or whatever. But, you know, if you're a Chinese person, you know, it doesn't make sense for you to open up a Japanese martial arts school. And if you're a Japanese person, it doesn't make sense for you to open up a Chinese martial arts school. You know, it just doesn't, you know, you're supposed to be representing the culture of which you were born into. But at the same time, I can't understand, you know, followers of a certain school and art. You know, if you go to a Chinese martial arts school that's led by a Chinese person, and you happen to be black, Hispanic, Indian, you know, or Japanese, and you're loyal to that, the master of that school, and then you receive permission to propagate that art, to spread that art, and to represent that art, then you got permission from the owner of the school to represent that way and to carry on the values of that school in which to market and promote it. You know, so that's you know, that's essentially what's going on that I see. And you know, whether or not people want to admit it or not, there is such a thing as white privilege. And you know, you see it all over Hollywood. I mean, there's not enough Asian influences in Hollywood. Just recently, they just had a movie called Crazy Rich Asians, and it's like the first all Asian movie that they ever created in 25 years. The last time they created a movie that was all Asian cast was Joy Luck Club. Now it's Crazy Rich Asians. So think about it. Like, imagine being a part of a race where you had to wait 25 years to even see a movie that's pretty much of your people. You know, I mean, look, there's just not any type of Asian influences out there in mass media, and the little things that we do have inspiration over, or that we're supposed to be able to represent, like the Chinese martial arts and kung fu, that even that's being taken away from us, from people that are non-Asian through to white privilege. And it's just, what I'm basically saying is not fair, and people should think about, step back and think about what's going on. Like, you look at the Chinese people, how can they make money? Like, they open up a Chinese restaurant, they open up a Chinese martial arts school, but imagine if all the Chinese restaurants are owned by non-Chinese people. All the Chinese martial arts schools are run by non-Chinese people, and then it's like there's no more influences left. There's no more leading positions left for the Chinese people to take a lead in which to provide, inspiration and be in a role where they can make a bigger difference. That's why, I always talk about him, and everybody's always talking about Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee, but it's not fair for the Chinese people, and Chinese Americans in particular, to only have Bruce Lee to even reference, because of how, Hollywood has not given any Chinese Americans any sort of opportunities to become someone like a Bruce Lee. But even African Americans have so many actors that that are known, from Denzel to Will Smith to Dave Chappelle to Chris Rock to just the list goes on and on. But for the Chinese Americans, there's really nobody, because even Jet Li is not Chinese American. He's Chinese. Jackie Chan is not Chinese American. He's Chinese. And there's just so much of a lack of any type of influence, and that's why things like this, something has to be said so that people know what's going on. It's basically, when it boils down to the martial arts, it's like, if you really want to learn Chinese martial arts, you really want to learn kung fu, then learn from a Chinese person. And the same goes with all the other disciplines. The Japanese martial arts, then learn from a Japanese person. And allow them the opportunity to share with you something of their culture. And that's very important. And the people out there that do have this sense of white privilege, at least step back and see, like, what's going on, and identify that, hey, this is something that I was born into, and there is certain privileges that I have that minorities will never have. No matter, as long as they ever live, they'll never enjoy some of these privileges that I enjoy. And then just realize that, hey, some of these Chinese people, some of these minorities, they deserve these leadership roles. And I want to learn from these people, and learn more about their culture. And I want to show appreciation. It's no different than, how we share music. It's like, if you're listening to somebody else's music that's created by somebody else, state that. Don't act as if you created the music of which somebody else created. Identify, hey, this music comes from here and I like it, and if you want to learn more about this music, then go to this source. That's how the martial arts is supposed to be. It's like, don't take something from somebody else's creation and then claim it as your own, as if it's from you. Give credit to where credit is due, and that's part of what it means to appreciate you know, from different cultures and different people. But I just felt that it was time to make a video about this, you know, because there's articles that I've been coming about that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't want to step on people's toes and everything like that and create, you know, ill feelings from the audience. But, you know, I just wanted to share the articles that I've come across that, you know, just to identify how certain minorities feel, you know, and you know, just notifying people beforehand so they can make things right, you know. So then it's more of an equal playing field of opportunity, you know. You know, I wish there were more opportunities for Asian Americans out there in Hollywood, so then we could have other influences over the people other than martial arts because of Bruce Lee. You know, it's not easy being put in this situation where you're denied opportunities because of how you look. And in these rare instances where you got the Chinese martial arts, where this is supposed to be, you know, you taking this leading role for this culture and its people, and even when that's taken away from you because you know, from somebody who doesn't belong in that culture, it's tough, you know. So I hope people would think about these things, from everything, not just the martial arts, but the music, the way you dress, and just think about where these influences come from, and think about, do I truly appreciate the people from this culture, and do I truly appreciate this culture, and to think about how do I give back thanks to this culture, especially if you're in a position of privilege. You know, these are some things that I think are important to think about. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your time.